will answer any questions you might have. We'll have other community meetings that you've heard here based on the timeframes that were outlined earlier. I want to thank Mr. Bell for his work. I want to thank our board members who were in attendance tonight. And again, especially you all for being here this evening. At this time, we'll entertain any questions you have as a group or individually. Yes.
I have lots of questions.
Good.
What about I have a special education student and a regular student. Where are they going? Where are the SPED students going?
SPED students will be amongst the three partner schools.
Okay. Also, I live on the very, very edge of Brewer, like Forest Road edge of Brewer. Will my children even be qualified? Because now you're talking it's only 2 miles from here, but we're talking I live way over there, so now that's not 2 miles from where I am. That's even further. So are they going to send my kids out that district, or are they going to still stay in it?
Well, what we've done, we've taken Brewer's attendance zone, and it's going to be divided evenly amongst these 3 schools. So if you do live, and I think I know the area that you're talking about, that is Brewer's zone, and it does extend.
Yeah.
We will offer transportation.
Okay.
We'll look at what's best for the child. Now you'll have, and we can't say who's going to qualify and who's not.
Yeah.
Who's going to be here. Special education services will be at the partner school. They will not be here. If, for instance, your children are separated and go to different schools, they'll be on the same bus. They'll be working with the same adults. We're going to take care of it.
So the special education teachers, are they, like, if your kids are all getting split up, those special education teachers from here are getting split up. So that means like, I have an autistic child. He does not do well with change at all. Like it sets him back 3 months. So at this point, his special education teacher's gone, his teacher's gone, he's in a new environment. What about those children? Because that could cause him to fall back just because he doesn't know him.
I would like for you to, I want to get your name and contact information. We'll talk, because there's some supports we can put in place for all the students. And we're going to, even if they're not special education, kids don't adapt well to change, but we're going to try to make it as seamless as possible. And we're going to pair them with leaders and teachers who are going to wrap their arms around them and welcome them and welcome them into the fold of the new school.
Okay. My follow-up to that is there going to be a counselor in this school? Because children are mean sometimes. That's just the truth of it. They repeat stuff their parents have said, and if my child does end up here, I don't want my child to be labeled as, and this is not me saying it, this is what's going to happen in some homes because we can't control what these people say. That's the stupid stuff. And that has something to do with the parents. I'm not saying the kids, but just grown folks in particular.
First of all, we're putting together an advisory committee that has representatives from all 4 of the schools. Brewer, J. Davis, MLK, Dorothy High. Okay. We're going to have a staff member, a teacher, the principal from each of the schools, a parent representative, and community partners as well, like from the IMA, the NAACP, all that to help us work through this. So, one of the things that we're talking about, you will see that we call this acceleration. Now, we haven't decided a name. The only part of the name we know for sure is going to be Brewer.
Well, it's not the name, it's just what
but let me
parents
say. So, to answer your question, you asked, we're going to have, you heard Mr. Bell share, we're going to have some additional staff here.
Yes.
We are so intentional. So you all know we're putting $1.2 million worth of funding in this school. Now, that's being defrayed by state and federal funds. So we locally are only putting about $100,000 into it. So we're maximizing and leveraging those dollars to focus the resources here. So that means we're going to put additional, we're going to have a full-time social worker here. We're going to have a full-time literacy coach, a full-time math coach. We're going to have a full-time interventionist. We're going to have whatever is necessary here. Counselors, we're going to have 2, one of whom is a clinically trained to handle any kind of other issues. One of the other things, these teachers are being paid more money to work in this school, and that's to help them with helping to be here, number 1, because we want the very best and brightest we can find. We're going to staff this school with the best teachers we can find. Not to say the others aren't, but they're really focused on, they want to be here for this reason. With that 14-to-1 ratio, that's going to help a lot of things just by reducing the number. Cutting the class sizes in half makes it a whole lot more manageable. On top of that, we're gonna make sure that we have tutors here and paraprofessionals to support here, but also in the partner schools. Because somebody last week made a good point. Well, what about the 3 through 5 kids? They're gonna need some additional support. Yes, they are. So we're gonna put tutors in there as well to help support those students in grades 3 to 5 in the partner schools. So we're putting a lot of additional staff and support in these schools. And one of the things these teachers will be paid for that work here is for after hours for tutoring, but also to have parent classes. There may be some things you may want to do with your children at home to support what the school is doing here. You're going to have the opportunity to come to parent sessions. They'll be held in the evenings or possibly on Saturday mornings, whatever works best for the parents. So we're going to try, this is an all hands on deck. This is not just the school. Schools can't do this work alone. It requires all of us. So I need you to lean into this with us.
No, I'm leaning in. I'm just worried about the children being bullied at home. I need the children, because when you got one that lives here in this house, going to this school, none, you know, you, like I said, you can't control what someone's going to say. And if a kid hears it and picks up on it, I don't want my baby to have
All
this
the children
label.
here are here because we're accelerating them.
Okay.
These children, our goal.
Like, I get your goal, but I'm just realistically speaking.
We hear you. And I can't control what somebody says in the house.
Yes, that's what I'm
I can't
saying.
control what happens here.
Yes.
So I need us all to be supportive of each other and help this be successful so these children in K2 are successful down the line, and the grades 3 through 5 also get a lift up, and ultimately systemically. And this is, I want to make sure everybody understands, this is not a quick fix. It's not meant to be. It's systemic. It's going to take a decade for this to roll through K2 on up to the middle school and high schools. But you got to start. And that's what most people don't do, is take the time to plan and start. They try and find the quick fix. Quick fixes don't fix this issue, don't improve the issue. This is no fault of the children. We're just going to make sure they get a chance to accelerate their genius.
No, we had a question over here.
I'm here. I know you just talking about special ed, but what I'm more concerned about is when you have the child that has to be pulled out for one-on-one. What are you doing with the children with them?
We didn't say one-on-one.
No, I'm talking about special education. Where they're in class learning with the rest of the students, but they have to be pulled out for certain things, like speech or.
We'll still have all those programs at the partner schools. Just because it's not happening here doesn't mean that it goes away. It just gets moved to one of the other schools, and they'll provide the same services, whether it's speech. I meant to mention here at this school also, we have a full-time speech language pathologist going to be assigned just to here. Now, what that means for the other partner schools is by being assigned here full-time, they're going to have more access to the partner schools if there's a special overflow need. But they'll have all the services that they would have any place else. They'll still have whatever school they're assigned to. Yes, ma'am.
So, okay, I get the separation of the kids, you know, the second, third.
Right, yes, ma'am.
Why make that change when it should have been going on anyway? Like, you're not taking that 14-to-1 ratio to the other 3 schools, are you?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so that means that my child, even though he's maybe more advanced or need more help than other children, and he's going from second to third, and he's not prepared for that, so it's not going to be no support for him either.
That's what I just said about the tutors going to 3 through 5. We're going to have additional tutors there to help support them.
So why wasn't all this already implemented in the school system? Because this other student is going to be through K through 2, but it's only going to be at one school. Y'all are not trying to implement it through the schools that already have K through 5th
This
grade.
is where the greatest need lies. If you look at this geographic area, this has the greatest concentration of students in need of this intensive support. Just like anything else where there's intensive need or focus, whether it's medical, education, whatever, you go where there's the greatest intensive need for it. And that's why we're doing this. And we cannot do this all throughout the district because there's no way we could afford it. You could not afford the taxes to pay 14 to 1. I'm going to say no.
I get that, yeah.
So we could not do 14 to 1 across the district. But so I'm going to take that funding and make sure we work in the most intensive areas needed.
So that's what I'm saying. So you're not saying that the kids that are going from second to third are not going to need that intensive need when they go to these other 3 schools that don't have the same advantages that Brewer is supposed to be implementing.
I'm saying I don't have enough money to do that all the way throughout the system. I've got enough to do it here, and then put the tutors in the 3 through 5.
Okay, gonna tutor the 3 through 5
Correct.
that need this program, that are no longer qualified for this program.
I will say this. The other partner schools are also coming on with the Rollins Center, so they're gonna be getting the same training.
Training.
And this has been happening, what you're describing, kind of what we're doing, unofficially. Teachers at the classroom level, they make it happen. And they kind of do these things without the support. Now we're putting the supports in. We develop our younger ones so they can be more successful, like Dr. Stephanie Johnson said. The vision is for students to be reading on grade level by 3rd grade. Because I won't tell you, when they're not, they're playing catch up. And once a child gets to 6th grade, those teachers don't receive training on how to teach reading. They can't go back. And a lot of times kids get left behind. And that's what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to prevent.
But like, that's what I get that you're trying to prevent it now. Why wasn't it already being practiced? It could have been in theory, it could have been in practice of the teachers already implementing things to help these children that are transitioning to higher grades and needing to read. Like, if you're making it seem like, no offense to the teachers that are here, because I think all the Brewer teachers, I love everybody at the school. You know, Brewer, I've been with them for a long time. You know what I'm saying? So I have relationships with the majority of the teachers. So I'm not talking against you guys, because y'all love me. Okay, but my thing is, from the beginning,
So, can I just share, remember when we talked about the brain research?
yes, I get that.
That's only been in the last several years, we really understood how the brain learns to read. And that's what the Rollins Center, who I mentioned before, has been doing this for 85 years. But they've been doing it in a more of a clinical setting.
Right.
Because when we learn better, we do better.
Yeah, exactly.
And there it is.
Exactly. And when we know better, we do better.
Right, yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Well, she's been
Thank
waiting.
you so much.
I'm sorry.
First, I want to thank both of you gentlemen for giving such an eloquent presentation.
Oh, thank
It
you.
really seems like a lot of effort has been put into this.
Thank you.
I've been very concerned about it. I know Ms. Woodall can speak to that, because I've been wanting to talk about this for weeks. First and foremost, I know that every parent here feels like the staff at Brewer has been top-notch. They
Yes.
have been fighting against a demographic that is the most difficult, I think, that we have here. in
Nobody's
Shelby
fault,
County.
just is.
You know, it just is. And they give everything they've got.
Yes, they do.
And my children fall into this issue. I've got a kindergartner who is having difficulty, and I have a 4th grader who fell between the cracks. I mean, he is having difficulty reading. So I definitely feel what she's feeling. She's saying, okay, why did we let this happen? I get we have to start somewhere. So I am concerned about my rising 5th grader. And I'm concerned about my daughter, who's going to be going into the 1st grade. I would like her to come to the academy, as it were, but I don't want it to seem like a remedial school, which is a concern.
I don't want it to be remedial. That's why I
Right.
purposely called
You know.
acceleration. I need you to help us change the messaging.
Right.
Help us with that. I cannot do that. I'm the guy in the suit.
Exactly.
I know that.
And-
You're the parents, and you're hearing our heart. My heart is to make sure these children have the opportunity to be successful and choose their own future. I just need you all to help me carry that message in the way that you know best with the people you know.
We're already coming from an area that is disadvantaged, and we don't want our children to be labeled remedial from the get-go.
Yeah.
That being said, this seems like a genuinely well thought out plan. I just want to make sure that my son, who again is going to be going into the 5th grade, doesn't fall into the pattern that we currently have set, which is, okay, you're going to be moving into middle school, and then you're going to be moving into a failing high school. Because Brewer has been labeled a failing school for
Yep.
a long time, but the teachers and staff here are not failing.
Oh, that's exactly right.
You know, they have been pushing through and dealing with what they have for so long, and I'm so glad that my children were put here.
But unfortunately, because schools get labeled, that creates a churn of
Yes.
teachers who, let's just be real and say the reality that it's not fair to ever, to always have teachers having to turn over and that kind of thing. We want to build stability into the school because of the importance and the value there is there. That's why we're going to pay these teachers more. We're going to try and support them with all the wraparound services as well as the families as well.
So, I mean, are we going to build retention? Because like, right now, my son has some of the best teachers he's had his entire educational career. But are these teachers going to stay? You know, are we going to build relationships and then they just fall off? You know?
I can't get, I will never promise anything I can't promise. We don't have indentured servitude. I can't require people to stay. We want to build a community here where the teachers are supported not only by the district, but by the parents, like you're saying here today. We want to make sure the teachers are the heroes that we know they are, and hold them up with esteem and respect. And if you do that, that means more than money. I'm going to do my part by paying them. I need you all to do your part to make them want to stay here once we get them here. We are purposely reconstituting the staff at Brewer and letting them reapply for the job just because we feel like, in fairness to you and everybody else, we want to make sure, number one, they know what's expected. I don't want them to come and stay at this school and come back halfway through the year next year and say, well, I didn't know you meant I was going to be here on Saturday morning. I didn't know you expected me to tutor after school. I didn't know I was going to have individual parent conferences. We're trying to be very open and honest with people. I also want the people here that are going to work here that know who these children are, that appreciate the cultural responsiveness that they need to have, to understand some of the circumstances they may be dealing with, and to provide the additional support and connectivity in the community through United Way and Boys and Girls Club and all of our different partners, so we can give all the services and give all the support we possibly can for them to have the support that the teachers need, the children need, and the families receive.
Not to monopolize, but one other question I did have, and then I'll let
Sure.
you go. You did mention that you will keep, if I choose to bus my children, which I have not up until this point because of some bullying issues, but if I choose to bus my children, that the older child will be kept on the bus to let the younger child off. So we did have some changes in school starting times this year.
Yes, we did.
Does that mean that we will have changes again?
No.
Because like I'll have a 5th grader and then I'll also have an upcoming 1st grader. So how is that going to work?
Our school start times were changed to match the research on brain. Again,
Yeah.
we're trying to do everything based on what we know to be the best research at the time. We changed the start times and it's working well for us. But we are not changing them again as long as I'm the superintendent.
Okay. So what would ideally, if I continue to drive my own children, which is probably what I'm going to continue to do, what would ideally be the way to structure that? Because they're still going to both be expected to be dropped off no later than 7:40, right? They both have to be in the seat at 7:40. I get my children here by no later than 7:20 usually, because I want them to try to have a chance to eat breakfast and all of that. I'm at the edge of Forest Road too. So that means I'm going to have to leave my house at like 6:50 in the morning.
And see, my son's bus comes at 6:20 now. That means, am I putting him on the bus at 5 o'clock, 5 something in the morning?
Does it,
Again, I can't tell you all the, every
can't say the logistics
every
at this
single
point.
scenario because we're talking about hundreds of children
Semantics.
that we're trying to make sure. That's why you're going to be getting information. Transportation is going to, we reroute every year based on housing and patterns. All that'll be worked out. We're going to do the very best we can to keep it the shortest ride possible if they're going to catch the bus. We're going to try and do what we can to make sure the buildings are open, that they have breakfast. That's another issue. We want to make sure these children get the right nourishment that they need to start the day. Somebody else over here. Yes, sir.
Would any of those parents have the option of sending all of their children to just a specific school?
No.
If they were
No,
In the
we're,
back.
we're,
Yes, sir.
let me just say, we're identifying the kids in pre-K through 2 based on a universal screener that has been validated. It is a scientifically designed instrument to tell us where the children are. So it's not just what somebody thinks, feels, or believes, it's what the data tells us is necessary for their service. So pre-K through 2 will come here, and then the other children will go, if they're qualified for here, and then the children go to the respective reassignment school.
So other schools gonna have K through.
There'll be some,
So
if they're on grade.
the three schools gonna have K through.
Yeah,
So you're putting, okay.
Yes, sir.
Question. I want to know if the other 3 schools
just gonna be third through fifth?
Yes, well, no, primarily third and fifth, but they'll have some K2 if they are on grade level. Now, just so you know, no one's gonna get overcrowded. Because, interesting enough, when we did all the research, to your point, we really tried to think of everything. We have about 400 students, based on this year's data, so just all we can tell you is what we have right now. Based on this year's data, we have 400, right around between 350 and 400 students who would qualify to come to Brewer as pre-K through 2. Interesting enough, we have about 400 students in Brewer that will go out to one of the 3 schools. So it's just basically swapping students, so it's not going to overload or overcrowd any one school. And, interesting enough, with the reassignment, instead of having an overpopulated Dorothy Height, we're actually going to pull them down to where we have relatively equal numbers between those 3 schools. So they're not going to have one that's overcrowded, as it is now.
So, y'all are basically gonna decide where our children are gonna go to school, so I have 2 children, so if you put one at Dorothy Heights and the other one at the other school, that's just how they roll, we don't have the option of having them in the same school, if we want them in the
No,
same school.
if they are K2 and qualify for this school, this is where they will come. Otherwise, the children will all go to the same school, whichever one that might be.
Another question.
Another question.
That's all right.
Why was there no parent meeting before this was talked about? Because I know you guys had board meetings and teachers probably had meetings and principals. Why was there no parents there?
So there's an order to things we have to do. We've been studying this for, well, about 9 to 10 months, researching this, studying it, and so on. I have an obligation to my board members to talk to them. It took me that long to talk to them individually. Then I had to go and talk to the board as a group and get their support for this initiative based on the data. And then that's why we're having these parent meetings. But the decision was in fact made before yes.
So this meeting is just to tell us it is what
This
it
is
is,
informational
basically.
meeting. Yes.
Because we had no, as the parents, I think if it would have been informative, some of our input should have been in on this. As the parents that had to take these children home every day.
So I will tell you, I didn't talk to all the parents, but I did talk to parents. I talked to the Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance. I talked to the NAACP. Lots of different people I talked to and got input and feedback.
These parents are just parents in general.
Parents in these schools.
Because I never heard about any meeting or new to
I
talk.
can't say parents in here. I'm saying there were representative parents, just like they'll be on the advisory committee going forward.
Okay.
So there was representation from all 4 schools as well.
We
as
just didn't know about it.
Well, no, it's because I can't have.
No, we're not all of us, but I mean, I didn't know there was any parent in that meeting. Like, that's the thing I'm saying. I didn't know there was one parent there.
There was.
And
Were they from this zone?
They were from all 4 schools.
how were those parents chosen? I would like to
We
ask.
asked the principal for people who've been involved, and I also had representatives from the community told me who they used as well.
Okay.
And I want to say this, you may feel like this meeting was delayed and took too long. A lot of work has gone into planning this. And it wouldn't be fair to you to ask you to come out here and us not have any information. Basically, my slideshow would not be, you wouldn't have a slideshow. I wouldn't have the answers. So we didn't want to get in front of you until we had some of those answers. We still have some work to do. And we value your input, and you have an opportunity to submit concerns, questions, to help us build this thing. It's not done. We're still building it, and we need your input. And we appreciate you offering this information in your point of view. It means something.
Yeah, because I'm already on Enrichment Services Policy Council, so this, like, going from the bottom up and from the top down, I can completely get that. Like, I'm not new to board meetings and all that. But the thing is, usually there's some input, not one parent from every school, because one parent has not.
It wasn't just one.
I mean, but okay. We have no idea. We never seen it. We didn't know it existed. We didn't know those parents were even going.
We respect your position, and thank you for coming tonight and sharing that information.
And give us more input and feedback, and we'll continue to have this advisory committee to help us with the messaging piece that was talked about. You all the best messengers. You've heard our heart, you've heard our plan. You know what we want to accomplish here. We want the best for all children, not just yours, all of them. This is our best chance. Why do you think a lot of schools have not done this before now?
Money?
Hard. It's hard. It is really hard. And a lot of schools just choose not to deal with it. That's why we haven't done it in the past, plus the research. Those two things are the difference. Nobody wants to get yelled at. Nobody likes being yelled at. I don't like being yelled at. I'm getting used to it, but I don't like it. But all that said, we're going to do what's right for children. At the end of the day, when I retire or die, whichever comes first, I want to be able to say that we did the right thing by children, not just because it was the politically expedient thing to do, or because it was the easiest thing to do, or whatever. These children, these 400 children I just talked about, deserve our best. They deserve the two things we can give them the most of. That's our time and our expertise. And I'm going to give it to both. Give both of them to them.
Yes, I understand that 3 schools was chosen, but if I'm not comfortable with the choosing of the school that my fourth grader goes to, is a hardship an option?
Absolutely. I mean, anyone can apply for a hardship.
Okay.
Can't guarantee it, but
Right.
you can apply for it.
Okay.
Our school district has a process, and typically that window opens up late April, early May.
Okay.
So be on the lookout for that. We'd like to keep your child in this zone, but if every parent in the district has that option. Thank you.
Other questions? Want to make sure if you have, and this is, I do know how these things work. Somebody out there that's got a question you didn't want to ask. We'll be here afterwards if there's a question you don't want to ask. I know how that goes. And I understand that, but we'll be here to answer these questions individually you might have. Thank you all again for your attendance tonight. Please lean into us with this. Please help us with this messaging. You've heard what we want to do. Let's all make it happen together. That's right. Thank you.